Here's a fact about The Incredibles. The Incredibles is a beloved Pixar film released in 2004 and shortly released on DVD after. This film was beloved by all the children from the time, but now it is available on Disney+. I did the thing that no one who liked this movie 20 years ago bothered to do, and rewatch it again, as an adult. And what do I find? This movie is bad! This childhood classic is a bust! And today, we're going to talk about why. Summary of the movie. The movie starts with opening logos, then we have a bunch of interviews with the characters. This is an animated movie, not a documentary. We get into some action, however. Mr. Incredible starts the film driving a nice car and manages to stop both a bank robbery and a cat being stuck in a tree at the same time. Then he gets back into his seat, and this little guy called Buddy, who wants to be Mr. Incredible's sidekick under the name Incrediboy. How cute. Mr. Incredible responds to this child by chucking him out of the car. That's mean! Mr. Incredible then goes to stop a purse snatcher, but then he gets interrupted by Elastigirl, and then they have an argument about who actually got the guy. The guy even tries to say that Elastigirl was the one who beat him up, but then she punches him. What the hell? He was backing you up! Then Mr. Incredible goes and saves a guy from killing himself. Why is there suicide in a kid's movie? And then we get Bon Voyage, here to Bon Voyage this movie. Oh! But then Buddy shows up to be a nice kid, but then Mr. Incredible tells him to shoot. And then even after he shoos off, Mr. Incredible still follows him. What an asshole! And then he gets arrested for no reason. And then he gets married to Elastigirl. Wait a minute. Earlier during the fight scene with Elastigirl, Mr. Incredible asked her if she was doing anything that night. Did he forget? Even the movie agrees with me. Then Mr. Incredible gets sued for saving a guy's life? What the hell? Now Mr. Incredible has to work at an insurance company where he's still saving lives, but this short guy, grrr, he says stop it. How mean. Elastigirl, actually, this is gonna get annoying. I'm just gonna call them Bob and Helen. That's the real names, by the way. Helen walks into the office of the principal of the School of Dash. God, I need to work on my phrasing. The son of Bob and Helen, where this teacher is claiming that Dash somehow managed to put a thumbtack on his chair even though he was across the room. But this teacher insists that Dash somehow managed to run across the room and put a thumbtack down. Wow! In this world with superheroes who are secretly living among us? No way. It's really weird that the idea of superpowers never comes up, especially since this kid's name is Dash. Man, I sure wonder if the kid named Dash can run fast. And then there's also Violet, who can turn invisible. And another thing that I'm not going to go over. Ooh, now we're at family dinner. And oh boy, do I not like this scene. Everyone's arguing and fighting and it gets on my nerves. These characters are so unlikable. Mr. Incredible says fuck this noise and leaves with Frozone, Bob's best friend, to go bowling. Except they aren't going bowling, they're doing superhero stuff? I know it's crazy, but Bob gets home and he has another argument with Helen. This is so annoying. But then he gets called to the short guy's office and Bob gets so pissed off Pixar had to show off their stretch features. He gets fired and talks to an old guy over here and he comes home to an iPad with a weird woman on it. And she tells him that she can make him super again. Then Bob's bitch wife does the heinous act of interrupting him. Then the iPad explodes. Must have been bought off of Shein. He then lies to his wife about not being fired. Then he goes off to the jungle to fight the Omni Droid. Oh yeah, let's go! Fight scene! Oh, it's over already. Well, at least Mr. Incredible's life is well. Incredible! He's having fun with his kid. He got a new car. Two new cars. And what the hell? Why are they touching each other's asses? This is a kid's movie! What the hell? Mr. Incredible then notices that there's a big hole in his suit, so he leaves on the way out. Helen asks him to bring some bacon home. Instead, he goes to the home of Edna Mode to fix up the suit, but this tiny creature wants to do something bolder and create a new suit to be bolder. Later that day, Bob gets another super job, which Helen listens in on. Uh-oh, she calls Edna herself, and Edna insists she comes over. Meanwhile, Mr. Incredible has a chance encounter with this guy who's actually the kid from earlier. What the hell? Is this kid still mad after what happened at least a decade ago? That's so petty. Why would he continue a multi-year-long grudge like this? I wouldn't do that. But Mr. Incredible manages to escape this syndrome fella and comes to face with a skeleton? I thought this was a kid's movie. Meanwhile, Edna is showing off a few other suits that she made for the rest of the family. Why would she do this? Doesn't she know that the Pars are no longer heroes? Meanwhile, with Mr. Incredible, he finds a computer that keeps track of all the supers that the Omnidroids have eliminated. Adding the ones killed via cape in a montage earlier, we have a total of 23 kills. 23 kills?! This is more kills than horror movies! Alright, Brad and John, what the fuck? You don't need more kills in an animated movie! Then because Edna decided to put a beeper in his suit like an idiot, Mr. Incredible gets covered in the goop! Now Helen has to go and save him! But uh-oh, the kids get a hold of the suits Edna made for them. Why did Helen bring them back home? That's stupid! And now she's planting a plane? How? That's ridiculous! Where did Helen's ability to fly a plane come from? But now the kids are here as well as the missiles. Helen then yells at Violet to put up a force field. Where did the force field come from? But because missiles are missiles, they shoot down the plane. Unfortunately, they survive, but Syndrome thinks that they are and taunts Mr. Incredible, who gets so mad that he tries to crush Mirage, but he can't because, I don't know, he's weak now or something? But once Dash and Helen combine their powers to make a motorboat, they make a mad dash to the island of misfit supervillains, where Helen tells the kids to stay away from the bad guys, but then sets off to find her husband. Helen sneaks around and, oh, I see why you cucks like this film so much now. You won't get me, Temptress. I'm gay. Mirage saves Mr. Incredible, and as a thank you, Helen punches her in the face. Why would you do that? She just saved your husband, but now the kids are in trouble, and another awesome scene commences. Hell yeah! Except for this part where Dash is shocked that he couldn't walk on water, even though Dash already ran on water earlier. What the hell? Now that the family is reunited, Syndrome shows up and makes weird comments for a kids movie, and throws them into this thing. Luckily, Violet can force field her way out, and so they go on their way to save the day. Meanwhile in the city, a new Omnidroid has shown up to wreck everything. Luckily, Syndrome has come to shut the machine off. Unfortunately, the wretched machine knocks the remote out of his hand. Luckily, the Incredibles have shown up to argue once again. Oh, please, no, not again. Quit arguing and fight the guy. Luckily, they do. Frozone even shows up, and they beat the Omnidroid, and nothing else happens in the movie. What's wrong with this movie? Let's start with the animation. It's bad! Why does the baby look like that? So creepy. Look how devoid of color some of these scenes are. It's depressing. At least it isn't as bad as Rap City Street Kids. You may say, oh, it was made in 2004. Bad excuse. Let's look at some of the other 2004 computer animated films like Shark Tale. Bad example. Like Action Man Robot. It's actually no, not that one either. Like Pinocchio 3000. Dear God, what is that? Okay. There's probably a movie that looks better than The Incredibles. You're just going to have to look for that on your own. But trust me, it's there. No excuse, John Pixar. Now let's talk about the story. How come everyone is constantly arguing with each other? This movie would have been less than 10 minutes if people would actually agree with each other on something. If Mr. Incredible just let Buddy be a psychic, he could have perhaps saved the guy jumping off the building and not have crushed the guy's neck, because tiny child. And then no one would have sued. Problem solved! But I think I'm going to elaborate when we get to the characters. Actually, I don't really have anything else to say, so let's get into the characters. These characters are terrible! Let's get into the characters. Let's start with the namesake, or one of the namesakes for this film. Bob Parr, aka Mr. Incredible. He's terrible, always complaining that he has to be an insurance guy instead of being a superhero. And he's fat! Grah, it makes me so mad! Next up is Helen Parr, aka Mrs. Incredible, who is also terrible, always nagging, always yelling at someone, and I know the only reason people like her is because she's hot. Why did Pixar design her like this? This is a kids movie, not a hentai. Luckily, the holy powers of homosexuality, I send these back to the depths of this bad movie. Now we have Dash, this absolutely annoying brat. Grah, I hate him. He's so annoying, always being a brat to his family, to his teacher, to Syndrome's army. I don't care that he's just a kid. Grah, why'd they put him in here? I hate him. Let's move on to the villain, Syndrome. Now I can understand at the start of the movie why he's like that. He's just a kid. Of course, when you grow up and develop weapons of war, I kind of expect you to stop being such a pussy. This guy probably spends all day complaining about kids' cartoons. No, I don't do that. I made a video about Serial Experiments Lane once. Alright, let's move on to the Edna Mode. She's so annoying, she talks really weirdly, and why is she so short? The idea of a superhero costume designer isn't even original. There's a guy like that in Invincible, and before you say anything, the Invincible comic came out in 2003. Huh? The last character I'm going to talk about is Frozone, which all things considered I do actually like. Voiced by the ever graceful Samuel L. Jackson, Frozone is totally cool. Get it? Except for one thing. After doing some Google searching, The Incredibles takes place in 1962. Now, Frozone, if you're colorblind, is a black man. Alright, and if you know a thing or two about history, you know that everyone was extremely racist back then. In fact, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banned racism, was enacted in, well, 1964. So why does Frozone have a very nice penthouse, huh? Why doesn't anyone call him a... This movie is historically inaccurate! I sentence this movie to be consumed by Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal?
Alright, I'm gonna eat this terrible sack of shit movie.
What about The Incredibles 2? Well, to be honest, I don't really care to watch the Atrocity sequel. People said it's worse than the first, and those people liked the first, so I bet if I watched it, I'd literally die. There is no hyperbole there. I think it'd be so bad my heart would stop. Thanks for watching Facts About Truthers. If you like the video, bring your copy of The Incredibles, or like the video and subscribe to the Litter channel. Next time, we'll...